Does anybody use hashtags? Yeah. All right. I've got a favorite one. Does anybody have a favorite hashtag?
Liberties rising.
Mine is Stand with Rand. Can we get that going? Stand with Rand. 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 Well, I use that on my Facebook about every other post, okay? I used it the other day, and my uncle, who's kind of a smart aleck, he was worried about Senator Paul's electability. And he said, are you going to stand with Rand or are you going to fall with Paul? And I responded, hashtag, are you getting hashtag sassy with Massie? And what I put back in his face were the facts. The fact is, Senator Paul is the only Republican that can beat Hillary Clinton in the purple states. I'm talking about Iowa, New Hampshire, Colorado. These are states we've lost for many years. He's winning those states in the polls. And the best indication he has a chance of winning the primary is they're always attacking him, right? So we know he can win. And let me tell you the big danger in this election in 2016. If we trot out the same tired type of candidate that we have in the last two elections, we're going to lose. In fact, if we trot out a new face with the same tired message, we're going to lose. We need a new face and a new message. This kid's getting fired up here. Look, so many people come to Washington, D.C., and it's like, has anybody watched The Walking Dead? Yeah. It's like every week is like an episode of The Walking Dead. One of my friends is going to get bitten, right? And the analogy here is they don't come back. Once they're bitten, they're gone. And so there's like a half-life for congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C. It's not if they're going to sell out, it's when are they going to sell out? How long can they outrun the zombies? Well, it's about 6 months. That's the half-life. And we lost a lot of freshman congressmen. One of the reasons, and one of the big reasons I support Senator Paul, I tell people, if you give me somebody that's got a spine, and I only agree with them 80% of the time, or 50% of the time, give me that person over somebody I agree with 100% of the time who runs at the first sign of conflict. And Senator Paul is somebody I agree with about 95% of the time. And he's got a spine, and he's never sold out. If you want any evidence, when he stands up here, he's wearing the same ugly shoes he had 6 years ago when I met him. He's the same guy he was 6 years ago when he told us what he was going to do when he got to Washington. Which brings me to the battle that we're fighting right now in the Senate and the House. Who knew when we set this date several months ago, it was the only date we had we could get together here in Newport, who knew we'd be 36 hours away from the PATRIOT Act expiring? I don't want to steal his thunder. I don't know what's going to happen Sunday, but I recommend you get your popcorn, you get it popped, and you get C-SPAN 2. Even if you got to stream it on the internet, you need to get on C-SPAN 2 and watch this man Sunday. Because Sunday is when he's going to be fighting for our freedoms again, like he does every day. But it's going to be very consequential Sunday. And well, I think they come into session at 4, and the action won't start until 6.
Is that tomorrow, you mean?
Yes, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Look, so much. Here's the other thing I want you all to know. Look, I've only been there for 2.5 years, but here's what I found out when I got to Washington. It's my apologies to the professional wrestling fans in the crowd, but it's like professional wrestling. The whole thing is scripted. Even the fights with the chairs hitting each other, they're not really hitting each other. The fights are scripted, the speeches are scripted, the debates are scripted, they're reading everything. They plan the objections. So what happens when an MMA fighter walks in the ring with a bunch of posers? They get their butts kicked.
When you head back to Washington?
This is going to be like a UFC match. Sunday, like it is all the time. And I can tell you what, I was there when he did his filibuster, actually when he did his first filibuster over a year ago. His staff didn't even know he was going to do it. In fact, I saw him on TV in my office, and I asked his chief of staff, I said, is Rand filibustering? This was 2 hours into it. He says, no, we think he's about to wind down. And so I was like, I turned on 2 hours later, and he's still there. And I told my staff, this guy ain't winding down, he's just getting wound up. And I texted his chief, and I said, he looks like he's getting wound up. He said, I think you're right, he just asked for a power bar. So, look, I've been there on the floor with him, and I was there with him, standing with Rand Friday night, Saturday morning, when there were 99 senators. I mean, the pressure is palpable. When there are 99 people staring at you, upset that they're not in their beds, or they're not at home, or they're not at a fundraiser, they're mad at you because you pulled out this inconvenient little document called the Constitution and said we're going to obey it. But they were so mad at him. Even his friends were mad. They had to wake up to come and vote. And the pressure, I really felt for him. But that's the kind of pressure that whoever we elect for president is going to feel in the White House. And I can tell you, and I'll leave you with this thought, if there's one person, and I know he can, if there's one person that can take that pressure, if there's one person I would put 100% of my faith in, and I am putting 100% of my faith in this person, unqualified, I am enthusiastically and confidently endorsing Senator Dr. Rand Paul for president.
President Paul, President Paul, President Paul.
Thank you. I want to thank my friend Thomas Massie for that endorsement. I want to thank Northern Kentucky for sending Thomas Massie back. Are there any liberty lovers in the audience today? Are there any members of the Leave Me Alone coalition? Justice Brandeis said that the right most cherished among men is the right to be left alone. There is no constitutional justification for the government to collect all of your phone records without your name on a warrant, without suspicion, and not signed by a judge. Your privacy is yours, your records are yours, and the government needs to leave us alone. I'm glad today to accept the endorsement of Thomas Massie. I hope he will play a big role in our national campaign. I'm happy to have him there as an ally. I'm happy to be able to look and see that he actually took the time to come over to the Senate floor to help me and give me support. It is kind of a lonely place when you're there at 1 o'clock in the morning and everybody says, it's our vacation, you're robbing us of our vacation. And I say, isn't the Bill of Rights worth it? John Adams said early on that the spark that led to the War for Independence, the spark that got us going, the spark that led us to separate from England was James Otis standing up and fighting the king. James Otis saying that the soldiers, the British soldiers, can't write warrants, they can't come into our house, and we're not going to take it anymore. That's what led to the revolution. That's what's stirring us up now. We cannot go quietly and say, you can have our privacy, you can have our rights. We have to stand like men and women. We have to stand like men and women and fight for our rights against an ever-encroaching government. If you don't, they'll take it from you. I'm going to fight. I hope you'll fight with me.